الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and welcome to Islamic Oasis Live. Today, we have, inshallah, we have a very, very interesting discussion. And the discussion is on political prisoners in the US. Of course, this may be a new, for many of you, this may be a very unique discussion because we have never heard of political prisoners in the US, to the point, I think even the government denies that there are political prisoners in the country, or in jails here, or in prisons here. So it's a very interesting topic, especially very timely for what's going on in the country with all the different security, let's say, agencies working throughout the country, whether it's ICE, whether it's Homeland Security, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the, and all the others that we don't know. Inshallah, to discuss all of this, we have our brother Bilal Hakeem. Brother Bilal Hakeem resides in Patterson, New Jersey, and a native there. He is long-time community active in both the Muslim and the non-Muslim community. He is advocate of oppressed and the staunch advocate for political prisoners in the United States, many who converted to Islam or were Muslims already before their incarceration. So first of all, brother Bilal, Jazakallah khair for coming on the show, and Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, Sheikh?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm in good spirits.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So let's start this discussion, Sheikh. First of all, if you can define political prisoners in the United States, given the United States, denies that they even have political prisoners. I mean, this was new to me even when I met with you just a few weeks ago. I mean, it was news to me that there are actually political prisoners in the United States.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned in your intro, that the United States government uses its legal arm to criminalize dissent or any opposing views to U.S. policy. So when we talk about political prisoners, we're talking about people who have made a conscious decision to question U.S. policy. It made a conscious decision to involve themselves in efforts to change policies that are more humane for people.
Okay, so I mean, so they do exist in the country.
Yeah. Again, the legitimate movements have been criminalized. So what the United States says to the world is that no one in prison, everyone that's in prison is there for a crime. So they deny the fact that it's political. I mean, we can deal with the recent case of the passing of Assata Shakur, right?
Yeah. I was going to ask you regarding that because he seems to be the most famous, Assata Shakur, who recently passed away. I mean, there seems to be a struggle that has been going on, like with Shakur and the brothers, Zaid Shakur, and also Lumamba Shakur. I mean, these are names, we don't even know them. We didn't know that exists, at least outside maybe African-American community. Or I think even within the African-American community, the politically aware community within the African-American.
Well, it's a very sophisticated campaign. You know what I mean? Because, many of these brothers and sisters who have been languishing in prison for so many years, they've been given a jacket as a cop killer. Cop killer. So, no one in their right mind wants to be, associated, identified with a person or persons that are thirsting to murder law enforcement. So there's a very sophisticated campaign that's launched by the PBA, you know, Police Benevolent Association, to paint this here picture. Yeah, I mean, again, we talk about Assata Shakur. We can talk about the case about Imam Jamil al-Amin out in Atlanta, Georgia, from the West End. He the former H. Rap Brown. I mean, he's been language in prison, for over 2 decades now, and he was charged with, shooting and killing a police officer when all of the evidence, not only the evidence, but you had a witness come forward.
Let's continue with Jalil Amin first, because I know he's written a famous book also. I think it's called Revolution by the Book. That was one of the very famous books. Mm-hmm. But go ahead, Sheikh. What is most people don't know who Jalil Amin is. What's his background? I think I'm not sure if he was ex-Black Panthers also, and later on he became Muslim. So if you can kind of go into the details of who Jalil Amin is.
Well, Imam Jamil al-Amin was, he comes from the era of the Black Power movement of the 60s here in the United States. Imam Jamil was known as H. Rap Brown. That's the name that many people know about, H. Rap Brown. And he embraced Islam while doing time in prison. Yes.
Okay, so what's his case, Sheikh? Why is he considered a political prisoner?
Well, right now, the case of Imam Jamil al-Amin is that he was living in Georgia, the west end of Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, and they were in a drug ridden area. So they organized the Muslims in that area to clean that area up of drug activity, and they cleaned it up. However, we come to find out, since he was arrested, that the government was watching him, spying on him. They actually sent a young person into the masjid, you understand, to spy on him, to kind of like maybe try to induce them to do something. And, the power of Islam overcomes men, the hardest heart. So this young person actually embraced Islam and told them that, they had sent him in there to spy on them, as though there was some illegal activity going on. There was no illegal activity going on. It was just basically organizing the community. You had a playground area that people in the neighborhood could not even utilize. I mean, similar to, you didn't get the opportunity while you were here in Patterson, but it's similar to a situation that I was confronted with, and those who are working with me here in the city of Patterson, where there's an area, a park, that had been just taken over by the dark elements of the streets, and no one in the neighborhood was able to utilize it. And when we begin to organize and concentrate our efforts to make it a place where families can come and enjoy themselves again, many people embraced us, and many people didn't. Some people had a problem with that. I mean, it amazes me that people would have a problem when you're trying to clean something up and make a decent environment.
I mean, I would say, go ahead.
So with Imam Jamil, they accuse him of shooting and killing a sheriff officer down in Georgia, when all of the evidence points to the fact that he wasn't even present, and the fact that someone came forward and confessed that they were the ones, but they just wanted him out of the way because of his history as an activist. He was you have to remember, Imam Jamil comes from the 60s, and he was with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was never a Panther. He was never a Panther. I mean, many people think that he was a Panther, but he associated with the Panthers. In fact, during that time, the various movements they did communicate with one another, but he never was officially a Panther.
Because I think Black Panthers came after the killing of Malcolm X.
Yeah, the Panthers. In fact, this day right here that we're in, this is October the 15th, 59 years ago, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense was formed on this here day, October the 15th, 59 years ago, in Oakland, California.
Okay, and then so what's exactly, yani, yeah, so Jalil, I mean, what's his background, Sheikh? What makes, that's what I guess, because I mean, for our audience, many people don't know who he is, and what really is, what makes him someone that, I mean, the authorities figure that they have to arrest him.
Well, Imam Jamil al-Amin, again, his status is legendary. And the fact that he, the name rap, they call him H. Rap Brown. Like, you hear rap music, the term rap music. Well, they called him rap because his ability to take the spoken word and communicate the word, you understand? To move people to action, towards a corrective action. And the fact that he was so effective and then becoming a Muslim, still having those organizational skills and able to do that within the Muslim community, he's deemed a threat. There's a movie, and a lot of times, man, the art mirrors a reality called Enemy of the State. Anyone that dares to question or to challenge the status quo, even though the status quo, the flow goes against you and your humanity, you become a threat. So they wanted him out of circulation because what he did in that West End, the potential for it to spread, to rid the community of narcotics and all the other illicit things that goes on in these here urban settings.
So, Sheikh, I mean, there's a question here. How does the United States criminalize activists?
Okay. Well, what case should I use?
Go ahead. The cases. Of course, I'm sure. Give us some examples, some good examples that you know of, because I think today, Sheikh, the Muslim community really needs to know these things, because in New Jersey, these are, I mean, very well known cases. I think with certain imams, they came after them. I think Holy Land Foundation was very famous for this, and I was just talking to a lawyer a few days ago. Hopefully, we'll try to get him on the show also. I think they were called the Holy Five or something like this. They became, so there's a lot of, it seems like entrapment is utilized a lot in cases when it comes to activists. I mean, this became very common after 9/11, but if you can give me, some good examples of how activists were entrapped or criminalized.
Well, the history of the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO, which was started by J. Edgar Hoover. Actually, it was called the Bureau of Investigation before it was the FBI, the Bureau of Investigation, and they how they criminalize. You take the first case that they targeted under the Bureau of Investigation, the forerunner to the FBI. They target Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, he was the leader and founder of the United Negro Improvement Association, one of the largest organizations, and he wasn't even a Muslim. Okay, so what they did with Marcus Garvey, because he built such a mass movement that crisscrossed the globe, not only in America but in other countries as well. He had chapters. They found Marcus Garvey. They found someone in his organization to entrap him, and they find you on maybe say a technicality of tax fraud, or you sign something the wrong way, and as a consequence, they use the legal arm of their system, and that's what they did with Marcus Garvey. Even though 100 years after this has happened, I think under Biden he just exonerated Marcus Garvey that Garvey had done nothing wrong, but he was seen as a threat to the internal security. Take the case of the Black Panther Party, self-defense, founded in the 60s. They were considered the number one threat to internal security. Why? It was just a few chapters, but it was the idea that they were espousing for self-determination, to question domestic policy, to set up free sickle cell anemia clinics and things of that nature, providing food to the needy and things of this nature. This is way before they came up with the WIC program and the SNAP program. So it was like an embarrassing the U.S. government, and it's like your president that sits in the White House right now, and he takes and vendetta out on anyone that he considers that disagrees with.
Sheikh, I mean, it seems like they were also, Black Panthers at least, were product of what one may say. I mean, maybe affected by Soviet Union. I mean, were they communists, right? I mean, it seems like they were communist, socialist. I'm asking you because, of course, that there was a lot of effect of what was happening with the growth of communism, and West was trying very hard to stop the effects of communism, including, now what's called WIC, but at that time, there was no such thing as, food programs to support the poor. They had to do it because that it was, poor were being attracted to communism, that they saw, that they have certain rights. But I mean, we can go into different movements, but when it comes to activists, Sheikh, what does it actually mean, though? I mean, if you can go, meaning criminalizing means what? I mean, finding something on them, putting something on them, like you're saying, fraud and corrupt. Some case is always put on them in order to incarcerate them.
They can fabricate. They'll just fabricate. Just invent something. Example. Example. They were known for writing letters from the Bureau of Federal Bureau of Investigation. They had letters they called Dear Irving letters. Dear Irving, and they would fabricate these letters and send these here letters to various activists, and saying that the letter came from another activist, create conflict. You understand what I'm saying? Create conflict when they were the ones that, they threw the stone and then they hit their hand. And the activists have not found out about this until here recently, because the people were being played. They were doing everything to stop the momentum of the turbulent 60s, because people were questioning everything that was going on in the country. And, people were thirsty. So they were reading. Yeah, they were reading Marx. They were reading socialism because they were in search. in search of another direction outside of the exploitative system of capitalism that they were witnesses every day in their lives, in their neighborhoods.
So now we have Jalil. I mean, this recent case. I think she was in exile. I think the U.S. government was trying very hard to get her back here. I think this was the mother of Tupac Shakur. No.
No, she's not the mother. She could consider an aunt. You know, they took many of them took on the name the surname Shakur. So you know, Afeni Shakur was Tupac's mother, and they were close friends. And there are other people around, you know, that I talk to on a regular basis that know her very well. I mean, very, very well.
So, I mean, what is her case? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, her case is that they were traveling on the New Jersey Turnpike, and they said the police pulled them over because something was wrong with a tail light. And after that, from the police report, everything gets foggy. They just said that it started blasting. This is from the police report. However, from all the other reports, even from the medical examiner, they say that there's nowhere in the world that Assata Shakur could have pulled any trigger because her hands were elevated up. You know, her hands were up. And when her hands were up, she was shot with her hands up. This is from the medical report. So, you know, what happened, even though they say it was a routine stop on the New Jersey Turnpike, when they found out who they were, that these were Black Panthers, okay, then that heightens. That heightened the anxiety, and police officer will wind up getting killed, as well as Zayd Malik Shakur being killed on Turnpike. Assata arrested, Sunyata arrested, and you know put in prison and charged with the murder of the police officer. And eventually,
I think, but Assata was sent to. Where was she? She was in exile. Where?
Well, they had imprisoned her first. She was in Clinton State Clinton prison here in New Jersey, in South Jersey. So they had her incarcerated there, and she was actually she was liberated, and eventually you know she surfaced in Cuba.
Oh, and
where she received you know political asylum from Castro and the Cuban you know the Cuban Revolution at that time.
Oh, wow.
And one of the interesting things about it, you know, that I even share with people, that why was she given a political asylum? Why did Castro honor her? Because there was a movement. There was a movement from the days going all the way back to when the first African was brought and put in chains and was rebelled against a system that was dehumanizing. He had respect for our movement. He was showing respect for our movement for freedom, justice, and equality on the world stage. And this is why they never gave in to the United States government. Never.
But these are born and raised in the U.S. These are Americans.
Say it again?
They're born and raised in the U.S. These are Americans.
Who are we talking about?
All of the prisoners that you're talking about now that
yeah. They're born here in the United States of America.
Sheikh, I mean, the next question here, and what led up to getting involved in the freedom of political? I mean, for you, the question is, you know, you work with a lot of political prisoners. I mean, what's your interest in this, Sheikh? What led you to say that something needs to be done?
Well, I
It's a
my,
scary
my
thing, to be very honest. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, no, no.
anytime when you have to deal with
Listen,
law enforcement and all of this is not a.
this this is not this not a this is not an easy task. My mother was a librarian, okay?
Mm,
So we read, before the advent of the internet, we had encyclopedias. I mean, I have books all over here. In fact, I'm waiting for the Imam to give me another. He has a bookshelf we're going to give me so I can put some of my other books up. So I read. I like to read the written word. I want to read it. So I was reading. I had purchased a book called "Building the Islamic Infrastructure in America," written by a brother by the name of Jihad Abdul Mumit.
mm,
He was out of the East Orange Islamic Center in East Orange, New Jersey.
mm.
So I'm reading the book, and when I read the book, I seen that he was providing some social analysis as well to things that were going on. So I wanted to find them. So I went to Islamic Center in East Orange to find him. They told me that he was no longer there. He had moved to Virginia. So what I did, I consequently I got in touch with someone that did know him and knew where he was at. Knew where he was at in Virginia. What part of Virginia? So I made an effort to go to Virginia. I went to Virginia. I went to Virginia to to find him. One of my teachers was down there as well, so I was visiting him, and two birds with one stone. So visiting my teacher as well as I said I'll go and meet the brother of Jihad. When I got there, I found out that the United States Marshals had came to his house in the morning, and they had arrested him.
Mm.
And he was arrested. Why was he arrested? He no crime. He didn't do anything. No, we're talking about how did he become a political prisoner. They arrested him because he was the former driver for Assata Shakur.
Mm.
He's originally from New Jersey. He was a driver. He was a driver, and they wanted him to lure her to a neutral area, just like they were trying to reach out to the Pope, right? They tried to get the Pope, Pope John Paul, to get Assata to turn herself in. So he refused. He said, I'm not doing it. So they arrested him. Yeah, they arrested him.
And he's still in jail.
No, he's home. He's
So,
home now, but they arrested him and they held him for some years. I eventually I got in touch with him. There was a radio program that was called coming on in the morning from for 2 hours in the morning. It came on from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning, called Al-Amin America. So I grew up on radio, talk radio. The talk radio shows, I would be up for Fajr prayer, and plus I worked a night shift. So I was working night shift, and I was listening to the program one morning, and there was a brother on there by the name of Khalid Griggs, and he was talking about Jihad's case. So I didn't have a cell phone at the time. Cell phones were not as common as they are right now. So I went home on my break, and I called the number, and I got a chance to speak with the on the radio program, and told the brother that I wanted to get in touch with Jihad. I put him in touch with some different people that knew me, so that he'll know that I just wasn't I was a real person, and I wrote him. And I still have his letters here from years of writing them. And him writing me back. So I wrote him, and as I wrote him, we became close. So I began to start working on his case. I was just bothered by the fact that why they would lock him up and hold him because he refused to be a person that lures her to a neutral place to be arrested when it was clear that she was innocent of the charges. She maintained her innocence. She maintained her innocence. But my position is even this right here is that when we're talking about self-defense, because some people they make the argument, well, what if she did? And I'm saying that do we have a right to self-defense? So I'm not even arguing the issue of whether she did it, whether she did it or not. He maintained that she was innocent. But I will argue the fact: do we have a right to defend ourselves against anyone that aggresses on us to do us bodily harm, no matter what title they hold? That's the question.
And I think you know the answer, no. so this is so. I mean, I guess so what were the charges on him? That he was? Did they put the same charges on him? Was trying to kill an officer or something?
No, not on Jad. They just they revoked his. He was on parole from. He was on parole and he was living out the parole, so they revoked his parole. It's unheard of. Revoked his parole. So again, like I said, I wrote him, and eventually he had got a hearing, a revocation hearing at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, and that's the first time I got a chance to actually see him in person. I met him for the first time after all the years writing him, not only writing him, but they had a program, WBAI here in New York, the metropolitan area, where they do a prison program that still comes on. It still comes on where they're dealing with political prisoners. And, he was...
It's online or what?
Yeah, it comes on Thursday evenings at 8:00.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a show for political prisoners?
They discuss the issues of political prisoners. Not only do they discuss it, they start the program out with commentary from political prisoners, particularly Mumia Abu Jamal.
Huh.
Yeah, Mumia Abu Jamal is commentary. Mumia, this mention.
Who is Mumia Jamal?
Mumia Abu Jamal is he was the president of the national, the Philadelphia chapter of Black journalists. This is a trained journalist. Okay.
Oh wow.
The trained journalist. He was charged with killing a police officer. Okay.
Why is this so common, Sheikh? Why are the charges always killing a police officer? I mean, is it because this seems to be very common for al-Amin? They put the same thing.
Yes, because cases like that, it brings the entire state apparatus, against you. And when, again, as I mentioned, when someone is accused of that right there, no, people are not in a rush, man, to run to you. You know what I'm saying? Because they know what the police do to you. No, they know the police, and there's a real fear. I mean, the fear is so real that the mayor of Philadelphia, Wilson Good, he hired private security to protect him from the Philadelphia police because he was that terrified of them. This is what he says in his memoir that he has written. So, yeah. So with Mumia Abu Jamal, as a student at the age of 15, he had was involved in some activism where he wanted to change the name of one of the schools in their neighborhood to reflect the Africans heroes, of the time who were making contributions. I forget the name of the school. He wanted to change the name. Then during that time right there, he came on the radar of the FBI. Just imagine, a 15-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a 15-year-old.
They
Yeah.
arrested him while he was 15?
No, they had surveillance on him.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, 15 years old. Now, how was, did you tell me this right here? How was he breaking the law? All he wanted to do, he was organizing to change the name of a school. I just read a story this morning after Fajr prayer about the history. Now, just imagine this here. The history of two sodas. Now, you wouldn't believe this here. Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi, right? When Coca-Cola was first developed, Coca-Cola was developed for the European to drink. And they said that the African couldn't drink it because there was cocaine, there was real cocaine in the Coca-Cola. When they first started, this is why they used to call it the Coke. It's the real thing. Because they used to drink Coca-Cola for headaches and things of the nature. They said, no, the Africans, the blacks, no, they it was forbidden for them to buy Coca-Cola. Sell them Coca-Cola because it says that it will make them act wild and become bestial. So a campaign was launched to develop another soda, which was the history of the Pepsi soda. It was, listen, I just ran across this here this morning. I was reading this. I'm reading this out the page. I said, my goodness, wow. So there's nothing that they won't do. You know what I mean? To sustain their sickness. There's a deep sickness. Just a soda, a simple soda that people go to the store and go and buy. All this history is with it. So then the Pepsi became, a drink that became very popular among the African American. Even to this day, African Americans, they like Pepsi. I know a sister. I've been trying to get her to stop drinking Pepsi. I said the sodas are no good for you. And
Sheikh, I can't. They need to start sharing some of the profit too. But Sheikh, today, I mean, when you are, I mean, you've seen a lot of. I mean, you're in a rough neighborhood. You've seen a lot of changes. Different administrations come in and out. They come and go. Sheikh, today's environment. What do you think of what's happening today? I mean, now with activism that's connected to the genocide taking place in Gaza, whether they're imams, whether they are activists in general, whether they are, it seems like, I mean, a whole new era of, of same kind of things is coming back when it comes to, I guess, in some type of repression. I mean, do you see that happening today?
Oh yeah, the repression, man, has really been turned up again. I mean, I just witnessed something that Muslim brother sent to me, and I seen that this morning, where you have the National Guard. I think they're in Chicago, right? Are they in Chicago?
Yeah.
National Guard. Where the National Guard went up inside of a Walgreens. Yeah, inside of Walgreens, the people in there shopping with the guns drawn and chasing people down and grab the young African American boy and slammed him on the ground outside and repression. Repression. It breeds resistance, and I say with all the repression, people have to you have to resist tyranny. You have to resist it. There's nowhere in the world that we can just bow to it, just bow to it.
So, I mean, programs like COINTELPRO,
Mhm.
I mean, these were programs that were put together to, um, uh, create the environment that no one would dare speaking up or, or talk about what's happening and what the realities that they see or observe. Uh, what are, I mean, that of some of the programs that you are observing today that have been put together. Uh, Maybe they look like COINTELPRO.
Well, the function of Homeland Security. I mean, just
Mm.
recently, just with myself, just using myself personally, I was getting my passport so I can travel, and I was trying to expedite it, so I paid extra money to have it expedited, and they sent me an email and said that they received my information. However, they wanted some other information and they gave me a number to call. Um, I called the State Department. I called the State Department. They wouldn't tell me. Over the phone, I said, "Well, what information do you want from me?" So they said, "Well, we sent a letter to you," and I never received the letter. So, on 3 attempts, I never received a letter from them. They kept giving me another address. I said, "No, no, 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 no. This is not my address. This is the address." So finally, the last attempt, they sent me an email and said that, "Well, you're not going to get your passport if you're not we don't get this information." I didn't know what information they wanted from me.
Mm.
So eventually, I got the letter. So I went to try to get the information. They wanted to verify my status as a citizen. Okay, yeah, me. Um,
You were born, you, you're born and
listen,
raised New Jersey, and I guess.
listen, I can't make it up. I listen. I was baffled. So I went to several offices. They sent me to several various offices. The check. The lady put my name in the computer. They said we don't have you in the computer at all. This is the lady said. we have nothing. So I'm constantly going, and the last place I went to, the lady, she looked at me and she kind of like looked at me sideways, like this here. She
Mm.
said, were you born here? You weren't born here?" I said, "No, I was born here." So so I didn't, the next thing I was going to get in touch with one of the, maybe the senator, congressperson in my area, let them know, look, this is what I'm going through, so I decided to go to Vital Statistics, and I was able to get my parents some information, and so I got that. They gave that to me. I had get my birth certificate and mail that back in an envelope that they gave me with a stamp on it, and eventually they sent my passport to me.
Oh wow! I mean, this is Sheikh. Here's a question. I mean, I guess how many. I mean, there's names here. I mean, I understand that one of your mentors is Duroba bin Wahad. I guess.
Yeah, Daruba bin Wahad. In fact,
I guess
you
he
know,
spent 20 years as a political prisoner.
yeah, 19, and most of those 19 years he was in isolation. You know what isolation means?
No, I mean, yeah, I've read so much about it, but I would love to hear.
Well, isolation means maybe the size of a bathroom.
Huh.
The size of a bathroom. You're in a cell and you're locked down for 23 hours every day, and you just let out for an hour for maybe to take shower and stretch. And this is designed to break you. So the case of Daruba bin Wahad, he was the second case I found out. Like I said, once Jihad's, I became familiar with Jihad's case. I started reading and finding out about all of these different people. Because when the Black Panthers were gone, you know, the narrative that they were given is that, oh, they just fade away. No, their leaders were killed, and their leaders were framed and put in prison. So the case of Daruba bin Wahad, I found out about his case when he was still behind the walls. I was reading an article. I still have the article to this day. I was reading the article, and they had interviewed him in the City Sun, which was a periodical, a local in New York City. And I was reading the article, and I was so moved by the article because in the article, he was talking about the importance of Tawheed and the way he was explaining it. You know what I mean? I said, "Wow, who is this?" You know what I mean? So yeah, so I kept the article, which I still have to this day, and I began to follow his case. So he has another classical case. His case, they accused him. Same thing, police officer. But
Wow.
yeah, police officer. Because like I said, you use that, nobody wants to run to you. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to run to you. Now, with his case, he spent the 19 years. There was prosecutorial misconduct in his case. Under the Freedom of Information Act, when some young students had broken into office under the Nixon administration, they found all these files where they were spying on people. So when he requested his Freedom of Information papers, the government said they didn't have anything on them. They said, we don't have no papers.
Huh.
They kept pressing, and guess what? They found there were 300,000. You didn't hear what I said. I'm going to repeat it again. 300,000.
Wow. Sheets of paper on him.
On him, because he was one of the leaders, of the Black Panthers in New York. He was the field secretary. He organized chapters. He was very articulate. Clear in his analysis. So they suppressed the information. So he was able to prove that there was prosecutorial misconduct and that they framed them. He was able to prove it, that they framed them, that they lied on them. Okay, and they had to release them. You can there's some clips of this here. You can Google this here called "Passing It On." There's a documentary where they chronicleize his life and up to his release from prison. Yeah,
passing it on. It's called Passing It On again. I mean, so it's available online.
Yeah, it's called Passing It On. Yeah. So I met.
Go ahead.
So I met. So I met him, and I've been with him for since he was released from prison, man. March 22nd, 1990.
Oh wow! So how many years was he in the prison? 20 years, you said? About 19 years.
19 years. 19 years. Yeah.
Sheikh, these prisoners. I mean, let's talk about today's, I guess, generation. I mean, do they? I mean, look, I grew up here, and I, went to school here, did my master's here, and stuff like this. I mean, I guess in order to find this type of information, you have to dig in certain types of books, and even that, if you find somebody that is politically active or who understands history or sometimes usually an interesting teacher, if you get involved in some type of activism, some kind of but what can people do, Sheikh? Because these people are not known, and I think young people should know who these people are, and especially activists, because Sheikh, I think it's in today's the way the situations are today, political situations. I mean, I think maybe you can add to what I'm saying. Activists need to know how they can be framed by the government.
Without question, I say to all activists that are involved, and I educate them about political prisoners. I let them know that you can become a political prisoner by just organizing people for better housing. Okay? for better housing. And is yes, better housing.
I mean, is this
You know,
just the African Americans, Sheikh? Or, I mean, have you seen them go? I mean,
no,
they're
no,
going after Muslims. Of course, this is a common thing. We've seen that in the media. We've seen that. I mean, we're seeing it. But uh,
no. You have Puerto Rican political prisoners. You have white political prisoners. Yeah, yeah. In fact, yeah, yeah. So, like I said, the United States does not acknowledge the fact that they're political prisoners. See, when they talk about political prisoners, the United States is talking about political prisoners everywhere else
mm,
because they want the world to believe that this is the bastion of freedom. You have freedom here. We have freedom here. You can speak. You don't have a right to listen. You have no right to freedom of speech here if you cannot exercise that right. There's none. I mean, they're trying to pass laws right now that anyone that criticize the rogue state of Israel, you understand? Charge you with a crime.
mm.
So this is criminal. So we supposed to just lay down and just accept that? No, we have to question let's say policy. We have to do everything within our power to not allow policies like this to take effect. I mean, they want us right now to believe with this here bogus peace treaty. I mean, there are already indications that I'm hearing from people around the country. I mean, outside of the country that I'm communicating with, how they already are breaking the rule of what they say is a break. Yeah, accusing the Palestinians of not giving over. I was just watching BBC before you call, giving over these Israelis and things of that nature.
Sheikh, this brought something very interesting in my mind. African Americans have not been too vocal regarding what's happening in Gaza. I mean, is this something that I am observing, or you're also observing that, especially and given the struggle of the African Americans in this country, you would think that would be something very personal to them because they're seeing what's happening on TV, live genocide taking place. Do you? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, so that's why I'm asking you. I mean, we don't see that many voices from the African Americans. I mean, unless they're Muslims.
Right. Well, amongst the general African American population, their leaders have been co-opted. Okay, their leaders are in the hip pocket of the Zionist lobby. Okay. And that's the crux of the problem because they see it. There's nowhere in the world you can see this here, and not feel this here, and not be compelled to say anything. But they lust for position and power over justice for humanity. We watched the genocide right before our very eyes. So that's my observation. So. They're not communicating this here on a large scale to the African American population. When it's always been our history as an African people here in the Americas to support the oppressed people around the world. The whole issue of the Palestinian question has never been a problem with the African American leadership in the past, going all the way back to Imam Jamil al-Amin and the Black Power movement, the Civil Rights movement. Malcolm X. Rahim Rahmatullah Alayhi. He addressed the issue of the Palestinians. So there's never been a problem. That problem exists today because the Zionist lobby has a stranglehold. So a lot of these people that are actually standing up and being presented to the world as spokespeople for the African American people, they are puppets for the Zionist lobby and their mouthpieces like Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker, Senator Booker. Yeah, these are these are their puppets.
Sheikh, I mean, when you say that, the amount of books that you read, because I mean, when we met, I mean, there's always a book in your hand. I mean, and Sheikh, I mean, this is, since when do you have this habit, Sheikh? Because uh, I mean, is this from your parents, or and then the activism? I mean, has it always been there to when you see the oppressed that you need to stand up for? I mean, even when I was with you in the community, when I saw what was happening, I mean, it's amazing the connections, the relations that you have within the community, and the respect that you have. I mean, was this even before Islam or after Islam? Give me some background, Sheikh, on
No,
yourself.
it's always been like that. Like I was I was raised in the Nation of Islam under Elijah Muhammad.
So you met
My,
Malcolm X.
no, I was alive. I was born. I was born. I never met Malcolm X because I was a boy. But my mother, she told me stories. She seen Malcolm. My father, they seen Malcolm X. You know what I mean? So I was given that foundation. Those are some of the good things that I learned from Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam, of being concerned about the community. Also, I had an aunt, my mother's sister. Your mother's sister is like your mother.
Yeah.
So she was like my mother. Yeah, yeah. Just to think about it right now, make a tear come to my eye. She was my favorite aunt. I learned how to cook from her and everything. Yeah, even to this day when I cook certain things, they tell me, they say you remind us of Aunt Lena because I learned how to cook. She was my favorite aunt, but she was involved. She was involved in Dr. King's movement, SCLC. So even though we were me and my brothers and sister, we came up in Nation of Islam orientation before we begin to become more exposed to the Quranic message. My aunt, being a librarian too, she was a librarian too.
Yeah.
All right, my mother. They were readers. You know what I mean. So my aunt used to always tell me. She said, the Islamic belief there's more information. She would never say, she wouldn't attack, how my parents were raising us, but she would tell me, there's more information. So when 1975, I mean, I was shocked like a lot of people too. I think I was coming home from high school. Yeah, I was coming from high school and I heard over the radio, it was on WBLS, said that Elijah Muhammad had died. So we was already, we were conditioned in our mind to believe that, this man could live forever. That makes up for love. Yeah, yeah. So as I heard it, they telling lies. You know what I mean? And for us, during that time, it was around the time that many people in the Nation of Islam during that time were preparing themselves to go to Chicago to the annual big meeting called Savior's Day. You know what I mean? For him to be there. So you just thought it was a lie. I thought it was just they're lying. What are they lying? What they're telling lies for? He's not even gonna he's not gonna even die. You know what I mean? So my aunt, like I said, she would tell me that there was more information. So when Wahiduddin Muhammad Rahimahullah, when he took over the community, I didn't have no real problem embracing what he was talking about, because even during that time I had I had some cousins. Their father's from Bangladesh. Okay, this was during that migration. Yeah, my cousins. So they were raised as Muslims. They weren't very much open with their practicing, but they were Muslim, and I was going to I would go to a masjid, Jalabat Jami Masjid. It was one of the first masters that I had knew of. So I would go there and pray. Me learn how to pray. I even have a book right now. I have a book that I got from Molana Malduri, Rahimullah, on the virtues of prayer. I still have that book to this day. I still have this book. Yeah, so I still have that book to this day. So I would go there and I would just, listen. So when Wafidi Muhammad actually came in, I just asked Allah. I said, well, because it was a whole nother language that he was talking. Before it was something different, and I just asked Allah. I said, Allah, please, bless me just to understand what is this man talking about. What is he talking about at Islam? What is he talking about? What is he talking about? Sunnah, Sunnah, Hadith, and so I started reading on my own. I went to bookstores. I bought books and read. This was reading, and I met another brother, Dr. Khalid Bey, Rahimullah. He was a medical doctor, and also he was a very religious man. Lived in Teaneck, New Jersey. So we used to go to his house. He was from Pakistan. We used to go to his house. We would get there once a week. In fact, I learned about istinja, making istinja at his house. Because I didn't know anything about none of this here. We had to, do all this here. And he would bring halal meat every Saturday, just chicken. Like in Patterson now, you have hundreds of halal meat markets, man. And when I tell some of the people about these stories, they can't even conceptualize. I said, man, there was nothing. There was nothing. I remember getting a halal chicken, and there was a Muslim sister and brother. They had a store downtown, and I think at the time I had left from home, and I was trying to find we had a room. You get a room for like $25. You pay $25 a week then for for a room, or $15, something like that. So, but it didn't have no cooking facility. So we would take it to the store, and the Muslim sister would fix our food, and then we take it home. Me and another brother. You know what I mean? Yeah.
SubhanAllah. Sheikh, last question here. This is, it says, do political prisoners in the United States go through torture, behavior modifications, etc.? Is this, well, you kind of did describe what happens in, I guess they put them in like you were saying, they put the brother in 19 years that he was in prison. Most of the time he was in
solitary confinement.
So I guess, so there is torture.
Yeah, there's torture. Listen, I went to go visit another brother, Abdul Majid, right? As I was visiting him, they had him in a Brooklyn detention center. They brought him in from upstate New York for a hearing, so you can visit. So I went there to go visit him, and when they had me visit him, now, man, this is all the stuff I'm writing about, all this stuff, because you can't forget stuff like this here. So I'm meeting him, and when I went to go visit him, I visited him inside of in a room. Have you ever seen the old telephone booth? They used to have telephone booths around.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, it was like that. Like that side. He was on one side, I was on one side, and that's how I had to visit him. And after I, because I had to give my information to get inside the place, and after I came from there, from visiting him, I got a visit by the police had knocked at my door. Maybe then they were asking me, am I related to him and all that? Asking for someone, wanted to leave a card. I said, no, I don't know who you're looking for. I don't need your card. Why? No, you can't leave a card with me. For me to take your card is like, I'm saying, okay, if I see him, I'll let him know. I don't know what you're talking about. So they do little things like that. Like, like for instance, when you mentioned about how do they frame the people, you had the Panthers with the case of Daruba, and you can look this up. They're called the Panther 21. There were 21 Panthers. They had charged them with conspiracy to blow up the botanical gardens in Queens. They lost the case. It was one of the longest cases in New York State history. Okay, so it was on the books. They lost the case, but they were doing things like that right there to make them become hated by the people. You know what I mean? And the people, they loved them because they were doing things to help the people. So alhamdulillah, man, now many of them are Muslim now, man. So it's imperative, man, that that the Muslim community, the Muslim leadership, man, do not cow down, man, to the repression and begin to work the raise issue of Muslim political prisoners.
Sheikh, I mean, for that to happen, they would have to, I remember talking to you regarding this, that, why, what is your view of the Muslim leadership here in this country? Anyway, I guess that's my first question. Because what is your view of, do you think they have the ability, capacity to stand up for their political prisoners? First of all, if they even know that they are political prisoners, I mean, this conversation, I think, hopefully, will be one of the conversations. I mean, there is Afia Siddiqui, there is many people that are there, and there are organizations now in the US who are working on this. But I mean, do they even know that political prisoners exist in the United States prisons?
There has to be education. There has to be more communication between the massages. What I find here, just in my local area here, you find that for the most part, man, the immigrant Muslim community, if I can put it like that, they seem more interested in being just accepted as an American. And and if American means to have have a house, dog, and two children, and just be accepted. For the most part. I mean, and this is what this is what I see. And when it comes to other issues, like you mentioned about the issue of Gaza and the Palestinians, and why the people are not addressing it. Well, there's another component that I didn't mention, because then many of the regular common African American brother and sister, they say, well, we got issues here, and they're not even addressing our issues. So why, but that has not been our history, and this is what I remind them of. I said, this has not been our history, and the fact that it's not our history, we should not take the position just because they haven't responded over here that we're not going to say anything.
SubhanAllah, Sheikh. Sheikh, do you recommend any books? This is your last question. Do you recommend any books that Muslims should read, and especially the activists, regarding this topic?
Yeah, I'm going to actually there's a book, and just forgive me a minute, because I'm getting the book right here so I can show you this here book. This book here is called The Tip of the Spear: Black Radicalism, Prison Repression, and the Long Attica Revolt. This is a book written, and it was sent to me to review.
Oh wow!
Yeah, to review. So I'm reviewing it. It's high power. You got a lot of the Muslim political prisoners speaking in here. So this is one of the books right here. This is definitely one of the books right here. So I'll be breaking this here open as well as with my other studies. I'll be in the coming days. I'm going to be reading from Imam Jamil al-Amin's book, just a chapter from his book online. And Mumia Abu Jamal, like I have this book here.
Wow, Death Blossoms.
He has several books. Yeah, for your corner. Yeah, what corner West did the forward. But there's a new book he has out called the I think the student and the inmate with Mark Lamont. Who's a journalist. Well, he went into death row. Man, and so that book I'm waiting to get that book. But Tip of the Spear is definitely excellent book. To read.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair for so we need to subhanallah, Sheikh. There's a lot of information. I think especially information that today's activists also need to know.
I'm just getting warmed up.
No, obviously this will not be the inshallah we'll have you back, Sheikh, because there's a lot more to talk about, especially after you finish up those books. And I know you're writing a book. Hopefully, there's a lot to write about.
Yeah.
We've been through so much.
Yeah.
So inshallah we'll have you back once you finish writing some of your books, inshallah, Sheikh. And Jazakallah khair for coming on the show, Sheikh. Again, we have Brother Bilal, and the topic was political prisoners in the United States. Brothers and sisters, many of us may have no clue what's actually happening in this environment, which many of us are naive to. Those who are in the field, they realize and they know the kind of tactics, the kind of framing, the kind of, this whole tactics of entrapment and all, how this is used. But those who are not aware they're not aware. So it's time that we, the Muslim community, and especially the leadership, they need to stand up and they need to realize what's taking place, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan, and Jazakallah khair, Brother Bilal, for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.